What you see on my screen is the ProspectNow website. You can access your ProspectNow account from any device that has internet access simply by visiting www.prospectnow.com and by clicking the login button in the top right-hand corner. At that point, you'll just put in your username and your password and click login. Now, if you're accessing this from a full-size, laptop or desktop, this is what you'll see. If you're on a smaller device, such as a, iPad or maybe a smartphone, the web page will resize itself so that the elements all fit on the size of that screen. And what happens in some cases is that the login option will get condensed under this menu with the 3 lines in it. If you don't see the login button itself, just look for this square with 3 horizontal lines and click on that instead. So like if I have a smartphone, for example, it's going to be right there. All right, so let's go ahead and get in. I'm going to tell you a couple of ways you can get a hold of us if you need support, as well as where to access pre-recorded training videos to watch at your own convenience. So we're at the ProspectNow homepage after I've logged in, and you can see we've got some navigation options here to the top, at the top. In addition, we've got some links here to the right, training, your account settings, and as far as customer service, getting any technical support you might need, there's a few different ways you can do that. You can call us at this number below, 888-956-9998. Extension 2 goes to support. You can chat with us online, or if it's after hours, you can click the help button up here at the top and submit a customer support ticket. Our support hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, Pacific Standard Time. Okay? So in addition, if you want to sign up for our training webinars, we hold them on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. And you can click on the training link here in the top right and register for those training webinars. So Tuesday webinars are Introduction to ProspectNow. That's what you're on today. Thursday webinars are a variety of topics that are more advanced trainings. So on Thursday, we'll be going over advanced search techniques in more detail. You can also view pre-recorded training videos right here or visit our YouTube channel and see an entire library of all of our webinars available on the YouTube channel. Okay, so we've kind of cleared out all the administrative stuff, so let's go ahead and get into the actual use of ProspectNow. So I'm going to go back to the ProspectNow dashboard. I'm going to do that just by clicking on the logo up here in the top left-hand corner, and you'll see we're taken back to this kind of home page where we can start a guided search, do a property search, tenant search. That's actually the 3 elements that I'm going to cover today. The guided search and property search, the tenant search, and then there will be time for questions and answers at the end. Unfortunately, the Contact Manager is its own training webinar, and I do that on Thursdays. And I actually just recorded a training on our YouTube channel. If that's something you want to learn more about, it's available on the YouTube channel for further viewing. So you can see I just recorded that last week, so it's very current. But today we're going to talk about the guided search and the property search first. We're going to talk about these 2 elements in conjunction because they're closely related. So just a very brief history lesson, the history of ProspectNow. About a year ago, the only options you would have seen here at the top of the page are the property search, the tenant search, and the contact manager. We didn't have a guided search. What we did have with regards to the property search were a number of advanced filters that you could use to put together a very targeted list of property search results. And I'm going to go over this as well to some extent today, but I just want to point out your attention to all of these different filters that are available to you. And they're extremely valuable, but if you're a new user to ProspectNow, this can be kind of overwhelming and you might not know how to use it. So what we did was we took the most popular search filters from this list and we put them into a sequence of steps we called it the guided search. So if I go through the guided search, I'm going to be taken through this sequence of steps here where I can basically put together a very targeted search for my prospecting purposes. So whether I want to build a list of properties from scratch, import a list of my own addresses that I want to find, contact information for the owners, or if I want to look up a single address, choose a specific property or owner, or choose a save search for my, my previous searches. I have all of those options available to me from the guided search. As you're a new user to ProspectNow, you're generally going to be using the build a list of properties option, and so that's why I'm going to spend most of the time in the guided search portion of the webinar today. So we'll build a list of properties. From there, we've got the option to scale it down by location. Now, most of our users have access to one county. Some of you might have access to more. If you want to search in, so let's say you just have a standard one county subscription, this is pretty much going to be defaulted to the county that you're subscribed to. If you do have access to multiple counties, for instance, let's say I had access to Santa Clara and Santa Cruz County, I just select the counties that I want to look at by checking the box. Pretty straightforward, not very complicated there. If you do by chance, let's say, pick a county that you don't have access to, you'll notice that it doesn't give you the full picture when we get to the property search results for the county that you're not subscribed to. For today's example, I'm just going to look at Santa Clara County, single county, just since that's the kind of the standard subscription that most people have, is just one county. So once I've got my county selected, or counties, I can scale that down even further based on cities, based on zip codes. I can do a radius search, which is where I plug in a specific address, and then I'm able to look at all the properties within a radius of up to 3 miles around the address that I've input. I can also do a Polygon search by searching an area on the map, so I'll be able to draw a shape on the map and view all the properties within the boundaries of that shape. That's actually what I'm going to do in this example, because it's I just think it's really cool, and I think you guys will appreciate it as well. So once I have this map on the page, I'm going to look over here all the way to the kind of center right, and you'll notice I've got two icons. I've got a little catcher's mitt, and then I've got a kind of a hybrid polygon here. Kind of looks like a cross between a rectangle and a triangle. But I'm going to click on that icon that looks like a shape, and you can see as I hover over it, it says draw a shape. So when I click on that, you'll notice as I reposition the mouse cursor over the boundaries of the map, the cursor is now, it looks like a little crosshair. And what I'm going to do is click on the boundaries of the map where I want to have the corners of my polygon. So I'm not clicking and dragging, I'm clicking on each point where I want to have a corner of this polygon. So I've got my polygon, I'm going to close it up, and then I'm going to see there's 11,000 properties within the boundaries of this shape. So we haven't gotten into any filters beyond location at this point. So we're going to click Next. And now I'm able to sort by various property types. So these are property use codes that are given to us by the county. So depending on what county you're searching in, you may see different options available to you. In Santa Clara County, this is what we have. So I can scale it down based on all commercial properties. I can pick and choose specific properties under the commercial category, or I can, I can scroll down through the industrial, the multifamily, residential, land, and recreational. So in this example, I'm going to look at multifamily properties. When I select that category, you can see we narrow it down very significantly and get down to about 500 results. We're going to click Next, and now we get to the really cool part, which is the shortcuts. So depending on what your goal is, whether it's finding sellers, finding borrowers, just kind of generic marketing, or maybe you're in an insurance broker, you want to find insurance leads, you can tell ProspectNow to display to you specific shortcuts for achieving your goal. So if my goal is to find potential sellers, I can select that option. And in addition to the standard filters, which are financial data and property characteristics, I've also got shortcuts that are targeted towards finding sellers that I can just check the box. So out-of-state owners, owners who own multiple properties, owners who might have a loan coming due, or properties in foreclosure. Doesn't look like that's giving us any results there. So all of these shortcuts are shown to me because I told ProspectNow, hey, my objective is to find potential sellers. If my goal is to find potential borrowers, you'll notice that my options look a little different. Properties with high interest, and then loans that originated within specific periods of time that were chosen to basically help you target owners who may have a balloon payment coming due in the next 12 months or so. So just by selecting those options, I can really narrow down my list of properties so that I'm not just making more phone calls, I'm making the right phone calls. So I'm just going to look at finding potential sellers, and we'll do something. We'll do owners who own multiple properties. Instead of 2 or more, I'm going to scale that up to 3 or more, and that gets us down to about 174 results. And then I'll look at anything that hasn't sold prior to 2008, right? These properties are coming back up in value. Maybe the owner might not have been interested in selling back then, but is now. So these properties have not sold beyond that time frame. So we've got 93 results, very targeted list for us to go through. I'm going to go to the last step here, which is to save the search. So this you can be as descriptive as you want here. There's no limit to the number of characters you can type in, and I encourage you to be specific so that you remember what search you're referring to when you pull it back up in the future. So in this case, if I'm being very descriptive, I'm going to call this Santa Clara Polygon Search, multifamily, or just MFAM for short. No sale. I'm kind of going overboard here just to prove a point. No sale 1/1/2009, 3 or more props. Right. So no matter what, when I come back to ProspectNow, I'm going to know exactly what that search is all about. Okay, so now I get a confirmation that my search has been saved, and you'll notice, like I said at the very beginning, the guided search and the property search are very closely related. We've moved from the guided search process. We're now in the property search. So this is where our search results are displayed. This is where we can start accessing the ownership information and viewing the property details. And so that's what we're going to cover next. Before I get into that, though, let me just quickly cover the layout of this page. So you've got some search functions here within the property search as well. You can do very basic search. You could plug in a specific address and just search for that. You can actually filter your search here. I showed you this menu earlier, and you'll notice now that all of the filters that I picked during the course of the guided search are showing up in this now. So you can see I've got number of properties owned, 3 or more, sale date, 1/1/2009, multifamily properties. And then if I wanted to edit this search in any manner, I can do that without going through the guided search process again. So let's say I wanted to make this, owners who have 4 or more properties. I can just change that variable by clicking on the More Filters button right here at the top, making my change, and then pressing search again. So you notice that weeded out about 30 properties from our results. You can see I've got the number of results here at the top of the map. And then so furthermore here we've still got the map view. I've got some options for sending mail, which is that's the subject of an advanced training webinar that I do. I can export the records into a CSV file. I can look up phone numbers. I'm going to show you that one in just a second here. And then below the map, I've got a list of all the properties, and it's almost like an Excel spreadsheet view where I can see all the data kind of going across all of these columns. Now, to the top right, let me point your attention. I've got 4 tabs: property, owner, tenants, and history. So if I want to view any of these properties, let's say I want to look up Schneider Properties. So right off the bat, I can see that they own 8 buildings in Santa Clara County, and this particular property is in Woodside. Oh no, that's where the owner is. The owner's in Woodside. The property itself is in Santa Clara. So when I highlighted that property, you'll notice that these tabs populated with specific data about that specific property.
So under the property tab, I can see the property classification. I can see that it's a 74-unit property built in 1959. This is very similar to what you'd see on the title and tax roll data. The ownership tab is where ProspectNow really adds value to your prospecting, and here's why. The owner on title is Schneider Properties. This is the address where they get the tax bill, and without ProspectNow, that's all you're going to see. You're not going to see that the managing entity or the owning entity is managed by Nicholas Schneider, who in all intents and purposes is the decision maker for this property. He's the person we want to talk to regarding the disposition of this asset. So in addition to that property, he owns 3440. So he owns these other 3 properties we can see right around. And so we would want to get in touch with him. So we can do that by clicking on the Get Phone button. You'll notice it's right here on the Owner tab. And when I do that, it's going to search for phone numbers associated with the name of this owner, their address, and name of the managing partner. And we have about a 70% hit rate. And you can see this just happens to be one of the 30% where we don't pull a phone number up right away. There's a few other ways to get around that where we can glean more information. One of the ways we can do that is look at the LLC data, and I can see that Schneider Properties actually has an address in Manhattan Beach as well. So I can actually take this information and click on this Search Manually option, and I could do a manual search based on any name or address or a combination of the 2, and look up phone numbers manually if it doesn't populate right away, and that can elevate your hit rate a lot of the time. So let me type in Manhattan Beach, and no guarantees this is going to get us a phone number, but it's certainly worth looking at. So we have a phone number here for someone else named Chelsea McCarthy. Could be a lead. We could give them a call and find out, or we could just go to the next call and move on. So that's how you would look up a phone number on an individual basis. You could also, as I mentioned, there's an orange button here that says Get Phones. So I'm going to select like 10 of these records, and I'm going to click the Get Phones button, and let's do 15 just to get a little bit more representative sample. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to go through, I only have 15, 13, 14, 15. So it's going to go through all 15 of these records and try and find as many phone numbers as it can for those records. And you'll notice I selected each checkbox next to the records I was interested in. If I did the same thing and I clicked export, that's how I would get that data downloaded to a CSV file. So there's, just while I'm on the subject of checking these boxes, just know that you can select those records and click export. So it's going to go through these 15 records. It'll refresh the page, and then all of the phone numbers it was able to find will be displayed for us. Actually, I'm missing a field here. I need to add that back. Okay, so let me add something here. So this Customize Fields button lets you add or remove columns from this view. So for some reason that got removed or moved. Oh, for some reason I got put all the way over here to the right. I don't know how that happened. I'm just going to drag that back over so we can look at it a little easier. And you can see already some of those phone numbers are showing up there. So, okay, so we're looking at those 15 records. You see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 9 phone numbers, 9 out of 15. So that's about right. 9 or 10, yeah. So that's about right. And we could go through and contact those owners, give them a call, so on and so forth. So the last 2 tabs here I'm going to show you, and then we'll go into the tenant search. The tenant tab is going to show you tenants, commercial tenants that is, within the building. Now we're looking at multifamily properties, so generally unless somebody's running a business out of their apartment or something like that, you're not going to see much under this area. So I'll show you an example of what that looks like
on another property here in just a moment. The History tab shows you a history of sales, refinances, title transfers, going back 10 years in time, and you can see, you know, purchase prices, loan amounts, things like that. So let me show you. I'm going to go to our address here, 220 Main Street, Los Altos, California, 94022. And I'll show you what the Tenants tab looks like. So you would select the property, click on the Tenants tab, and you can see we have a list of tenants in this building along with names, you know, phone numbers. You can see we have emails indicated by this envelope. So if I click on that and I click Get Email, so when it's at sdtcorp.com, and what we can do is we actually use a confirmation. So we take the person's information, we kind of we run it through a series of different email combinations based on their name and their company name, and if we can confirm it but to a certain degree of you know, certainty, we will deduct an email credit. If we can't confirm it, we don't. We give you the best guess, but we don't deduct a credit. So you can see that here. So that's what the Tenants tab looks like. So that's the property search, and at this point we'll go into the tenant search before we go into question and answer. Now the tenant search, in terms of layout, is nearly identical to the property search. We still have the map, we still have the search features up above. We're going to talk more about those in a little bit because they work differently. We've got these columns below the map, and we've got our tabs to the top right. Now the tabs, you'll notice, we now have an additional tab for company, which is synonymous for the tenant. So for example, at this address in in Houston on Long Point Road, this company is one of the tenants there. And you can see ProspectNow will cross-reference the address of the tenant to show you the owner information as well. So I can see the history. I can see other tenants in the building if we have any here, which it doesn't look like we do in this case. So the layout, as I mentioned, is exactly the same. The search process is different. So for one, and probably most key, there is no guided search for the tenant search interface. When you want to do a tenant search, this area above the map is where you're going to do that. So you're going to go in here, and let's say you wanted to find all of the all of the Burger Kings in Texas, right? So this is a good example. If you're like a single tenant net lease broker, you can come in here and find all of the locations where a specific single tenant is occupying space, and as you see, the address will be cross-referenced by ProspectNow for ownership data. So this is just a very quick and easy example here. So I can see, so here's all of the Burger Kings, and then it's going to populate all of the ownership information here in a moment. But you can see now it's pulling the property information for a lot of these. So I can see this is in Amarillo, Texas. So the company is Burger King. Well, it's Amerigal Inc. doing business as Burger King, and then the property is owned by William Trifonis, and so on and so forth. So you could come in here and do that type of search based on specific tenant name. You could also do a specific tenant keyword. So if you wanted to contact tenants in the dental industry, you could come in here and type in DDS, right? That, you know, it's going to search for any tenant that has the word DDS in their name or description. And you can see we've got all the tenant phone numbers down here for you as well, in addition to, you know, the ownership information. You could also use the more filters option over here, and you could search for tenants based on, you still have the keyword option, but you could also search for tenants based on industry keywords. So if you wanted to find all the tenants in the retail sector, you just type in a kind of a keyword, give it a moment, it'll populate here. I can select retail sector, you know, 20 to 50 employees in, you know, Colorado, right, Denver, right? You can get very specific if you need to. and press search, and it'll pull up all of that information. So it found about 14 results that met that criteria. You could also use SIC codes, NAICS codes as well. So all of your advanced filters are going to be under the more filters option in the tenant search. And then, as I already mentioned, the layout, the process is exactly the same. These phone numbers below the map that are already displayed, those are for the tenants themselves. Whereas if you want to get the owner's phone number, you would go to this owner tab and click on the get phone, as we did in the property search.